welcome to the Pink House. Today we are on my floor to look at my bookshelf at my finally complete vintage original Nancy Drew collection. I have been collecting vintage Nancy Drew books for well over 10 years now. I completely got all of them just by going to different antique stores and flea markets, and I am very proud of my collection, and here it is! So I will only be showing the original books, numbers 1 through 56, and as you can see I have well over 56. I have some doubles, and some of them are older versions, some of them are newer versions, and I try to stick with the oldest versions possible. So today what I'll be doing is going through all my books from my oldest ones the whole way through my newest ones. So my first book, which is my oldest, is this one. This particular one is from 1944, and you can tell that because if you take off the original dust cover, the cover will have blue instead of the original yellow, and it is also outlined in orange with orange lettering. The other thing you can tell is on the spine of the dust cover, it'll have the silhouette of Nancy Drew. And how I know this is specifically from 1944 is if you have the dust cover, you can look on the inside at the titles of all the books, and you want to look at the last book listed. So here it's The Secret in the Old Attic, and The Secret in the Old Attic wasn't released until 1944. So that means this book had to have been from 1944. Another way to tell how old your Nancy Drew books are is if you open the front cover and look at the picture on the inside. So this one has an orange picture with Nancy, and I will be showing you some of the other pictures on the inside covers. So for this version, it's orange. Something else you want to look for is if you go to the chapter page, some of the newer ones will only have 20 chapters, and the older ones have 25 chapters instead. The next oldest book I have are these. They have like a greenish, bluish, almost like a tweed look to them. Unfortunately, I do not have the dust jacket for any of these. I have these. So just the actual book cover looks like this. And when you open it up, you have this dark blue picture of Nancy staring at a man. And it'll be in the front and also in the back. And all 4 of these books I have, they all have that picture in the front. So that picture indicates that these books are from around the 1950s. One in particular is from around 1952 because the last book listed is Clue of the Black Keys. And also, since it is older, it also has the special 25 chapters instead. The next oldest set I have look exactly the same on the outside. The only difference is if you open them up, instead they have this picture on the inside. It's a bunch of different pictures. It's really nice, actually. And usually with these versions, they also have the extra 5 chapters. You can see that there. The next edition is when we get into the actual pictures on the front of the books. So I'm actually not sure how many of this version I have. They're kind of tucked away throughout my whole collection. So with me I have number 2, 12, and 15. And you'll see when I show you some of the newer ones, I'll compare the pictures on the front because they actually changed the pictures on the front from the newer ones as well. So this one actually doesn't have the best picture on the inside. So you can see when you open it up, it will be the same picture as before from the last edition. The only thing that's different is they have a picture on the cover now. I believe with some of these books, they sometimes have 25 chapters. This is when you kind of have to start to look to see if they have 25, because it's kind of when they stopped doing the full 25 chapters. But you can see this one does have the 25 chapters. So make sure you check to see the chapters if you want to start collecting Nancy Drew books, because the extra 5 chapters make your book really special. Another version that is from around the same time as the last edition is this one. I got the same book to compare it to, except this one, nope, it's this one. This one has this on the inside. You can see the different pictures. And again, it is also in the back. And this version does not have the 25 chapters. I'm not sure if this is just a coincidence, because I don't really think there's that big of an age difference between these two versions, but this one just appears to be older. You can see it's a little more worn on the side, and also it has this picture of Nancy on the back, which can be found in the earlier versions, as opposed to this picture on the back, which just looks a little newer. So this is the next version, and I'll hold up to compare. So this was the older one, the older picture, and this is the newer one. It kind of has a different style, so you can kind of just tell. The title on this one is kind of more block letter-ish, and this one just looks more modern. But on the inside, it still has the nice blue pictures. But it does not have the extra 5 chapters. The next type of book is actually going to be dated around the same time as this one, and the one that's around the same time is this one. It has the same style of cover. You see how it kind of has the same style. It does have the extra yellow stripe at the top, but when you open it on the inside, it now has this new inside cover picture. It has a bunch of different pictures of Nancy. And it's in the front and also in the back. And this leads us up to what I would consider the final edition of vintage Nancy Drew books. And what I mean by vintage is, at least for my collection, I consider the vintage ones the books with the matte cover instead of the glossy cover, which you can see over here. And I'll get to that in a minute. So this is the last version. You can see it has the same style of cover. Obviously, it's not the same book, so it's not going to be the exact same. This particular book is number 52, The Secret of the Forgotten City. And if you open it up, it has portraits of Nancy. And that is the newest version. And again, it will not have the 25 chapters. There is one other Nancy Drew book that I have that in the guide that I use to kind of see how old my Nancy Drew books are, it is not on that guide, and I cannot find anywhere where it came from, what version it is. So if anyone knows what this version is, please let me know down below. It's kind of cool. It's green. It has a different design, or else it would kind of lead me to think that it was a subversion of this. But this is like a bluish green color, and this is clearly green, and it has a picture of Nancy on the front. And when you open it up, it doesn't have a picture on either side, in the front or the back. So if anyone knows about this version, please let me know. So now I have 2 books left to show you from my collection from 1 through 56, and I'm kind of disappointed about them because technically with them I have a full collection. However, they are the newest. It's okay. They are the newest kind, which you can still buy in stores today because they are the glossy version, which is just so sad. I don't know how to find vintage books of these. I mean, obviously I can get them online, but I don't like doing that. It's kind of been an adventure trying to find them on my own. It is definitely harder to find vintage books, the vintage versions of the newer numbers. So yeah, like I said, this is 54 and 55, and it only goes up to 56. So I guess technically with the glossy versions, I do have a complete collection, and I'm super excited about it, but hopefully someday I can find these two books. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory how these are the newer ones. You can see has a glossy cover, and on the inside it is plain. And it does not have the extra 5 chapters either. Also, I should mention that this is my own personal collection, so it is not from my mom's antique store at Avonbrook Antiques. So these are not for sale, unfortunately. So those were all my Nancy Drew books from my complete vintage original collection, numbers 1 through 56. I do have some other books though that I would like to include in this video that I just thought were really cool, and me being a Nancy Drew geek, I picked up along the way. So the first one is the Nancy Drew Book of Sleuthing. I got this when I was younger, and honestly, you'd think it would be cheesy, but it is such a cool book. It talks about, let's see here, handwriting clues, finding fingerprints, codes, palm readings, and it's actually a super cool book. I'm not sure if I'll ever use any of this stuff, but for me as a kid that really wanted to solve mysteries like Nancy Drew, it was awesome to get to make some codes and also crack some codes. The next one is this big book, The Lost Files of Nancy Drew. It's not in the best condition, but basically it goes through some of her books, and it just has like extra things about them. It has interactive things like tabs you can pull over, letters from people, and it talks a little more in depth about some of her mysteries, and it's kind of cool just to go through. Something else I didn't mention is I have some of the online Nancy Drew games, which I would totally highly recommend. They are so awesome to play. The people that make them at Her Interactive, they put so much time and effort into those games, and they are definitely not for kids. It takes me hours to complete them. Some of the puzzles, I can't even begin to understand how they come up with them, and they're just so well done. They actually just came out with a new game called Midnight in Salem, and they did a little bit of a different design with the game graphics, but it was super fun to play. I really enjoyed it, and Nancy gets into a little bit of a different kind of mystery than what she's usually doing, so it was really cool. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I had a lot of fun making it, and it's kind of just been something I've been wanting to do. I love doing research on my Nancy Drew books and seeing how old they are. Especially as a kid collecting these, it was such a good thing for me to get into antiques because, trust me, as a kid, I was not at all into antiques. So I feel like Nancy Drew books were kind of the gateway and the turning point for me to really start liking antiques. And they're just really special to me. Nancy Drew has always been such an awesome inspiration. And it was just recently her 90th birthday, which that's crazy to think about. If you have any questions about Nancy Drew books and or you want to comment on this green book, leave a comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe and hit the bell if you want to learn more about antiques. You can find us on Instagram at thepinkhouse_, Facebook at my mom's antique store at Avonbrook Antiques. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.